What is up guys, Andy Forest Theme Runner here and welcome back to another video. Today I'm giving you guys my first impressions of the SKECHERS Go Run Razor XS. There we go, not one but two runs done in the SKECHERS Go Run Razor XS. I am super excited to give you guys my thoughts on this shoe. Now, SKECHERS have had such good praise over from running YouTubers in the US and other people in the US that comment on my videos telling me that if I ever get a chance I should really try a SKECHERS shoe. Well, they've become a little bit more available in the UK. We don't have the best selection, but there's a few out there now thanks to sportshoes.com. They're supplying a few out there. These are in my size. I had to get them, had to try them out, and today we'll share with you my thoughts on the easy run that we did and the speed session. If you're excited for today guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with the tech. So we'll start off by saying I went true to size. I'm a UK size 13. I purchased a UK size 13 in this shoe. Fits absolutely perfectly, but we'll talk a little bit more about the fit shortly. We have a 30mm stack height in the heel, 26 in the forefoot, meaning we have a 4mm heel to toe drop, and coming in my size, 271 grams or 9.6 ounces. And the reason I did this is because in my UK size 13, any shoe that comes in under 10 ounces or 280 odd grams or 86 grams, whatever it is a win in my book. It means it's nice and lightweight and it feels good, and that is exactly what this shoe is. So we'll move on and we'll talk from the heel, ankle collar area, tongue, lacing, upper, midsole and outsole. Let's start with this. Bearing in mind this is a lightweight shoe, we have a decent amount of cushioning in and around the heel counter area. Now, I don't know if you guys can see, this mono mesh upper, which we'll talk about shortly, goes all the way around the shoe, but here and here is where we have a little bit more cushioning in the back, and that just provides a little bit of a better fit, a little bit more comfort, so it's not quite as flappy and foldy, although we do have quite a foldable heel counter. It's not like push it right down and it flaps around. There's a bit of structure there, but it is very moldable to your foot, put it that way. But it's nice and comfortable, good padding, feels good, locks in well, sits nicely under that ankle collarbone. And then we have a tongue, which I've seen in a few shoes lately. We had it in the Puma Liberate Nitro, very reminiscent for a lot of Nike shoes. We have a tongue that is relatively paper thin, of a suede feeling, but is slightly offset, and we have this groove here which sits around your ankle nicely. It is slightly offset. I saw it first in Nike shoes, and I think other companies are tagging on to the fact that a lot of us like that. It's really hard to see. It's not a gusseted tongue, as you can see in the overlay footage, but I don't know if I can show you. You can see where the cushioning starts around here in the shoe, and that starts exactly where the laces start. So a little bit of comfort just over when you're cinching the laces down to give that no pressure on the top of the foot. But other than that, it's very paper thin, very nice indeed. Moving on to the laces, stretchy laces, bit of a bugbear, wasn't too impressed with them. Standard eyelet chain, so nothing fancy. I'm happy with the way that everything is set up here. There's no frills, it just does the job. Laces, perfect length, everything about the laces and the eyelet chain is fine, but the lace is a little bit too stretchy for my liking. Again, we'll talk about that shortly. Mono mesh upper, we have some printing on the mono mesh upper, but it literally is just, you can see right through it. It's just enough to hug your foot, and that's about it. We've got a little bit of reinforcement underneath the toe area, I guess in case you kick anything as you're running, and we've got the reinforcement around the back, but other than that, this midsection, lateral and medial side is just completely see-through. That's the upper, nice and breathable, a good summer running shoe. Then we move on to the Hyperburst midsole. Now I'm really enjoying nitrogen infused midsoles. Discovered it in the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, loving it in the Puma Liberate Nitro, enjoying it in this thing too. We'll talk about it a little bit more shortly. But we have it running from heel to toe. Just another thing that Skechers have cottoned onto, and in my opinion, I find it quite durable. The Hyperion Tempo's got to 350 miles just before they started to lose a little bit of pop, and for me, go a little bit flat. For some people, that's not the best amount of miles, but for me, that saw me through a whole marathon training block and more. The most reliable shoe I had. And quite frankly, at the price I pay for this, which was currently on discount at $99.99, I'll take 350, 400 miles out of a shoe. So if I get that again with this, which I'm sure I will, then happy days. So that's the midsole. Then we have this Goodyear rubber outsole placed on the outsole, just to give a little bit more protection there. There are grooves and cutouts where you can see exposed midsole, but on the whole there's enough there to provide you with the grip, and there's enough there, but there's not too much there to add too much weight to the shoe. So that is the tech. So on to my first impressions. How did I find this shoe? So I've had a couple of runs in it now, and I'm pleasantly surprised. And I don't do scoring on my reviews. I'm not one of those reviewers that kind of gives points or anything, not for any other reason that it just doesn't pop into my head. But the first thing that I thought of when I got back from my first run was I went, yeah, that's a good 7.5 out of 10. And I don't know why it came into my head, but that's exactly what my thoughts are. My following thoughts from that was, I think I'm going to prefer it more on a speed day, which is what I had today and is exactly what I found. So let me talk as to why I felt like that and how I sort of came to those conclusions. So this thing has something called HyperArc technology. Now I searched and scoured multiple other reviews after I'd run in it, so I didn't want anyone's reviews or thoughts in my head before I ran in this shoe. But since today, I've run in it twice. I've been trying to work out what this HyperArc technology is. And people are coming to a similar conclusion to what I came to, which is an arc is a curve, and this has a really aggressive, probably the most aggressive curve around this section here that I found. It's a rocker without a rocker, if that makes, well, it is a rocker. There's a rocker there. You can see by the shape, but there's no plate or anything in there to make that. I just think the midsole's been designed like that. And when you put your foot in this shoe, despite it just being a 4mm drop shoe, my heel felt so much more built up than the forefoot. I really felt the balls of my toes around here really sink in to that dip. So I'm assuming it's just trying to get you up on its toes and get you moving, which it does. So it does a good job, but I have to say, it is very aggressive. It's not like a Hoka rocker where it feels very smooth in transition. This is kind of like you really feel the dip in the midsole. So that was the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed was the first few steps in this shoe, I thought my teeth were going to fall out. It reminded me of the Atreyu base model's first couple of miles. I said in that review, when I started running in that shoe, I thought, oh my goodness, what have I bought? This midsole is rock solid. My teeth literally, do you guys understand what I mean when I say I start running in a really firm midsole and like your teeth shake, you feel the vibrations go through your mouth? It's really odd. I felt the same with this, and I thought, oh my life, what have I bought? Don't get me wrong, I don't mind a firm midsole, but this was really, really firm straight off the bat. So I had 12 miles planned, and I was doing my usual Monday 12-mile loop. Easy downhill, steady push uphill, most of it on the flat trails. There was some concrete in there, so we got off the concrete pretty quickly. And when I met another concrete section around 6 miles, I didn't have that sensation. And certainly when I got back and today's run, I have not had that sensation, and it does feel a little bit softer. So I think there's that thing where when you buy it, it was very firm. It literally needed a couple of miles just to kind of bed in and break in. So I was very grateful that that happened too. So yes, a bit of a worry at the start, but nothing to worry about moving forwards. And the second thing that I want, or the third thing I want to highlight, is I did struggle with the laces, as I mentioned. Super stretchy laces. On the first run I had to stop and retighten because they really did come loose. Today I learnt my lesson. I took it out there and I really cinched from the bottom up. I didn't have to relace. I do find this upper, even though I have a wide foot, okay, this is going to be really hard to explain. I have quite a wide foot. I found my pinky toe here just slightly rubbing on the edge. It caused no blisters, nothing. I just felt a little bit of pressure from the material, but at the same time there's I found a lot of volume in this shoe, so it doesn't hug the top of your foot like some shoes. So if I compare this to something like the Puma Liberate Nitro, which is another shoe that I use for a similar purpose with a nitrogen infused midsole, two, in my opinion, very lightweight similar shoes, albeit this has more stack, I'm going to say the Puma like hugs your foot better, and the nitrogen infused midsole that they use is a little bit softer and bouncier, whereas this is a little bit firmer and the upper is a little bit baggier, but still fits well. So don't get me wrong, it fits really nicely, but it is a little bit baggier. So those are the points that I had to note to tell you guys, because I'm really happy with the shoe and I'm very delighted, especially after today's speed session. But I do like to be honest and tell you what pops into my mind straight away. So those are the things that I came to the conclusion of. These are things I need to tell you guys if you were interested in grabbing this shoe. Other than those things, which are just kind of warnings, whether you like them or not, if it bothers you or not, it haven't bothered me in the slightest. I've got to say, this is a really good addition to my lineup, and the people that have been ranting and raving at me about trying a Skechers shoe, I'm so glad I've tried them. I'm really, really impressed, and I kind of feel like now trying this one, I really would love to try another one. So again, I'd love your suggestions. The Max Road series has been mentioned a lot on Instagram. So again, if you're a Max Road fan, let me know, drop a comment below. I did find it, as I said, excelled more in the speed test today. So what I had was 8 by 3 minutes, 8 by 30 seconds, and 8 by 50 meter strides. 4 by 50 meter strides, and I found it came to life a lot more with the speed. The lightweight, the hyper arc, the curve in it got me on my toes, got me moving. Granted, the workout wasn't great. It was really hot. I faded quite a lot. The pace wasn't good, but that was nothing to do with the shoe. The shoe actually really did feel good. I felt swift on my feet, my cadence was good, and it just turned over nicely. It didn't feel clumpy on my foot, and that's exactly what I wanted. Just another shoe to slot into those speedier days that is going to give me some good cushion, but is going to work well with me, and that is exactly what it did. So how am I going to be using it moving forward? I think for me now, I'm not going to take it on a long run. I'm not going to do a long run test with this shoe. The foam is too firm. If I think back to the New Balance Beacon V2, is a little bit like that. My teeth were shaking in that, and they shook from mile 1 to 15, and that was the last time I took that shoe out for a long run. Although my teeth aren't shaking in this, I just feel like the cushioning isn't quite there for me to do a long run. I'd love to know if you guys like it, but I'm just not going to. I've done 2 12-mile runs. I think that's enough. I feel like 12 to 13 miles, an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes is my limit in this shoe. So I won't be doing any more of that. I think it's going to be good for moderate and speed workouts. This is going to slot in with the Puma, it's going to slot in with the New Balance Rebel, and it's going to start taking some of those workouts. So those are my thoughts on the Skechers Go Run Razor XS. First of all, delighted to try Skechers. Secondly, I've got to say, I'm very impressed, and I'd love to know what I'm missing out on in terms of more shoes in their lineup. Let me know in the comments below. And thirdly, if you want to grab a pair of Skechers, there are some links in the description below. They're affiliate links. They do go through to sports shoes. There's a selection there of Skechers shoes for you. I'd love to see, from a UK perspective, we haven't had this selection yet. I'd love to know if you guys fancy trying one, and if you do, let me know which one you do. And yeah, hopefully plenty more good miles in it. That's it for today, guys. Let me know, as I said in the comments, what your thoughts are on this shoe. I'm a bit late to the party. It did come out in March, but that's fine. If you've put lots of miles in it, let me know how it's holding up. If you enjoyed it today, give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.